It's a math problem. This really wasn't a policy decision. This was a study came back, showed us what we need to be charging, and that's really what we're doing. It sucks. It's not easy. I mean, we looked at our bill, we used your calculator. It's not going to be pretty for us, right? It's when we make these decisions, it affects us as well, but we have to cover those costs. And again, we understand the frustration. I don't blame anybody for being frustrated, but it was just a math problem, and we have to do it. We can't kick the can down the road anymore.
Welcome to Herrimanology,
the official podcast to keep up with Herriman City.
We'll take you inside the city, explore the latest news and updates, show you how your government operates, and discuss the issues that affect us all. Now, here are your hosts talking all things Herriman on Herrimanology.
All right, welcome to Herrimanology. It is Halloween, Thursday, October 31st.
Is that your costume?
This is my costume today. You know, I did the minimum. That a lot of people joke that government employees just do the minimum all the time. That's not actually true. We have a lot of really good, hardworking people.
Yes.
Today I did the minimum. Got my Hufflepuff scarf. I don't know if you can even see it on the camera. I've dressed up more in the past. Today I just wasn't feeling it today.
Right. But you see me, I'm not sure.
I participated. This is hot now. We turned the AC off in the room. So
you're done. Discarded that. You got it out of...
I participated.
I love it.
I will participate in eating candy.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I'm a chocolate guy. Well, I don't really turn down any candy. You might be able to tell. Yes. But fruity candy's good. Chocolate's good. But if I have a bowl of candy presented in front of me, I might go for the Milky Way first.
Milky Way.
Chocolate, caramel, just nice and... what else? There's some good ones out there. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is good.
That's my go-to.
That's your go-to?
I will sneak a bag. I tell my wife knows this, but if I'm going to Smith's, if my job's to go to Smith's, and it's especially during Easter with the eggs, the Reese's eggs, there's a bag that hides under the seat of my car that I do not take in the house. I'm a little embarrassed by how many Easter eggs, many Reese's eggs I eat.
You gotta partake.
So that's my candy of choice, and Kit Kat. Kit Kat's number 2. So.
That's good. What about fruity? I'm probably a Skittles, sometimes a Starburst guy, but mostly Skittles.
I got to be in the mood for that. I'll be honest. I've got to be in the mood for fruity. I can't. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a chocolate. Every meal I sit down, I had pizza for lunch today from 7-Eleven today.
Nice.
I had to have chocolate right after. I don't know what it is.
There you go.
I have to have chocolate. Didn't have chocolate at the house other than the candy. Didn't want to break into that, so I had to go back to 7-Eleven for more chocolate on the way. So it's a rough day.
Yeah. I always have to buy extra candy because I know I'm going to eat some of the Halloween candy.
Yep.
And that's just how it goes. You gotta factor it in.
It's required.
Yep.
We teach Cohen, we have the candy tax, right? The dad tax. We get whatever amount of candy, we get 10% of his candy that he comes back. He doesn't like it. So.
Probably not. Anyway, we could talk about some city things. By the way, Mary Palmer joining today. I'm John LaFollette, Communications Manager. Thanks for coming in again.
Yep, good to be here.
On Halloween, too. We'll have some... it's a tradition at the City Hall for the last couple hours of Halloween. Families and their kids come around City Hall trick-or-treat. It is adorable. It's awesome. So it's fun to get some work done and pass out a little bit of candy, too. So
blast.
That's coming up. Most of you are probably listening to this after Halloween, I hope. I hope you have things to do tonight.
Right, seriously.
But if not, enjoy Halloween. First off, a bit of really good news. 138 South is open.
It is open.
The connection from Mountain View Corridor all the way into Riverton and Bluffdale. It is open. It was opened on Monday. We thought about doing a fun little reveal video. We just didn't have time, so it didn't happen. But It's open. People are driving on it. And finally,
thank you to the residents for your patience. I mean, that's been, understandably so. I know even some of our residents kind of went at the other cities. Like the other cities really did try to listen to their residents. It's a big deal to connect through a neighborhood that's been a dead end, so, it's not an easy situation. It was definitely a needed road. Don't get me wrong. It was a needed road, but not an easy thing to, big change for those communities on the other side. So it's great to be open. Please slow down through those neighborhoods. They are residential neighborhoods. So please slow down, but hopefully this is a benefit to our residents in that area.
Now for the bad news, we've had to bear a little bit of it this year, and this week we reminded people on various city platforms of a decision that was made this spring that is now in effect about increased water rates.
Right.
Water rates meaning water prices for your home. So basically how your bill works is every month, your water comes from Herriman City, and it has multiple sources. There are basically two main sources of that water. We have local in-ground wells, and we have outside sourcing that comes from the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District.
Right.
So just to give you a little bit of context there, your bill every month has a base rate that's a flat rate. That's what it costs to have a connection to the city, to have the water supply that enables you to turn on the tap and water comes out.
Right.
Flat rate, we call it the base fee. On top of that, you get charged a certain amount per 1,000 gallons that you use. It is the same if you have culinary only or drinking water only,
right,
or if you are in the parts of the community that have culinary and secondary water, which is basically irrigation water.
right.
The rates are actually the same on the fee sheet. They look a little bit different, but in reality, culinary only or culinary plus secondary are the same amount.
Right.
At least the base rate.
Right.
Secondary water, because it's untreated, is cheaper to deliver, so it costs less for residents to use. But just kind of a breakdown on how that looks. So we've explained this before on this podcast, but just a reminder, we had a rate study done, just kind of looking at the finances and the money behind what it costs to get water into people's houses.
Right.
And the prices that we were charging before, over time, were showing to not be nearly enough to support our water utility or water delivery program into the future.
Right.
We have, with a lot of other places around the city, we've cut costs as much as we possibly can. But at some point, you just have to be able to pay for what you're doing.
Right.
So the rates had to go up.
Right.
And that was effective this month. Nobody's happy to hear that. Nobody wants to pay more, and we totally get that.
Yeah.
It's hard right now because everything's getting more expensive, but that's the reality. And the reality is, too, it's probably going to go up again next year and the year after. Not quite the same amount, but pretty similar.
Right.
So anyway, just a reminder on that. The city's not trying to stuff pockets. It's just trying to get to the point where we can make sure that the cost of delivering water is covered by the cost of using the water.
Right.
That's all it comes down to.
And like you said, it's a math problem. This really wasn't a policy decision. This was a study came back, showed us what we need to be charging, and that's really what we're doing. It sucks. It's not easy. I mean, we looked at our bill. We used your calculator. It's not going to be pretty for us, right? It's when we make these decisions, it affects us as well. But we have to cover those costs. You know, Herriman is unique how water costs will pay for water, right? We don't want to subsidize that out of any other. We try to keep it, police pay for police, water pays for water, storm drain pays for storm drain. We try to keep those buckets. I mean, those buckets are separate, so we try to make it clear. And again, we understand the frustration. I don't blame anybody for being frustrated, but it was just a math problem, and we have to do it. We can't kick the can down the road anymore.
Right.
So.
And there are a lot of places where the prices they're charging for water don't quite cover what it costs. And in those cities or in those wherever, they are willing to subsidize, so to speak, from other budget categories, mm-hmm. so they don't feel the impact on the residents. But really, you have several municipal services. Like you mentioned, police, fire, water. Those are the roads. Those are the really main ones.
Right.
You pay for it somewhere, whether it's property tax or sales tax or water rates based on usage. It all costs money.
Right.
And the government doesn't have this unlimited, bottomless pot of money that we can just pull from. We can't just make things happen out of thin air. It all costs money. Anyway, so just to give people a context of where that is, it's not fun, and we'll have to bear the bad news again next year.
Right.
And again the following year. And at some point the rates will even out a little bit, and there'll just be small increases after that,
right.
For inflation and things. But
and I know you put it on social media, but please reach out to us if you have questions. If you want to know where the budget goes, I saw that a couple times. Call us. We're happy to come sit down with you. Like, there's nothing to hide in the budget at all. We run lean, like we do as a city. We've got several unfilled positions. We've talked about that. We do try to run lean. We are I'm so impressed with this council and how we don't have any special projects we're out there spending millions on. There's nothing like that. We run lean. So because we understand what the burden it puts on the taxpayer. So,
yep.
And even we ask for a new report on our council I think it's the first meeting of I can't remember which meeting it is, but there's a report once a month that comes, shows our budget, where we're at, over, under on that budget, because some expenses do come earlier in the year versus later. So it shows it right there. It's every month. It's in our packets that's out there. You can see we're very careful with taxpayer money.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about water rates, like you said, email a council member, email the water department, email the finance department, email the communications department. Somebody will answer your question.
Yep.
We put out a lot of frequently asked questions on our webpage. The quickest way to access everything is go to harriman.gov/water-rates. And we have an interactive calculator on there where you can compare what your bill would be, assuming the same water usage. So let's say at my house we use, let's say, 30,000 gallons in a month between normal drinking and showering and cooking, cleaning, and watering the lawn.
Right.
You can enter 30,000 gallons or whatever I just said. I don't remember.
Right.
You can enter that in there, and you hit calculate, and it'll show what you paid before for water and what the new rates are going to be.
It's a great tool.
And same thing if you have secondary and culinary water. There's a calculator on there where you can see that and kind of get an idea.
Yep.
If you use more water than you did before, it's going to cost more no matter what the rates are.
Right.
That's kind of how that works. But anyway, just to paint a picture, there are a lot of places the city is reevaluating costs and budget and everything. This is something we've talked about many times here on Herrimanology, and it'll continue to happen, and this is what it is for now. So,
right. Yep.
Last night was a special city council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Special meaning it wasn't pre-scheduled in January. That's all that means.
Right.
But,
right.
So if you see a special meeting on any government agenda, that means it wasn't part of the regular rotation.
Yep.
So this one was a work meeting, which means there was no voting action. It was just around a conference table. The topic there was talking about the developments that are going to eventually come on the South Mountain.
Right.
Developments meaning subdivisions, neighborhoods, business centers.
Yep.
There are 3 main ones that are all kind of right next to each other, and this is part of the discussion last night, how they all work together.
Right.
There's Rosecrest, which is mostly done.
Yeah.
But there are some final things going on. I'll let you explain that. There's Panorama, which you've probably heard about this year, and there's South Hills.
Right.
To be clear, most of what is going to be built, they already legally can do.
Right.
We call that entitled. They're entitled where if they wanted to, they could build things right now, and the city couldn't stop or change it. It's just they are allowed to build right now.
Right.
But what are they doing? What was this work being discussion about, and what are the next steps coming up?
This was really final. Like all 3 were kind of discussed. Like you said, all 3 were kind of discussed last night with the end goal to get them all kind of approved at the same time, right? Tie up Rosecrest. This will kind of tie up and finish almost Rosecrest in a way. Lump that in a little bit with the Panorama. But really, it's going to develop all cohesively over there. The roads are going to connect right out of the gate. That's what's going to be great about this development. There are a few added. They did come with some added parcels. They're not adding much density in those. I mean, I think they're adding less than 4 units an acre, which is low. That's really low density in the areas they are adding to the area. But really, so this was just, we gave some feedback on the negotiations with, there's some changes being made to the master development agreements. And this was just our final chance to give some feedback on some roads. Of course, Juniper Crest is council's top priority with this, and that, there is some assurances on the timing now of that being done. They want that done. They told us last night their goal is to have that done next year. That's their goal, right? Again, we hate committing that, right? But knock on wood, we all want it done, right? They want it done. They can't have any residents in their homes in that area until that road is done. There's some deadlines with UDOT they're up against as well over there to connect into it. So it's about a 6-month build, they told us last night. So that's why we're hoping to approve this next meeting in 2 weeks, and so they can get all their approvals, move forward, and start building that road, and then development will follow.
There are a lot of people up there who've been asking about that for a long time. When is Juniper Crest coming in? And the answer from the city has always been it is development driven.
Yep.
It's not really the city isn't budgeting to build it. We're waiting for developers to build this road because it is in their arena.
Yeah.
More or less. So finally, hopefully, within the next year, we'll see it.
Yep.
There are a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot until then, but it's looking optimistic to have that done next year.
Yep, you could tell from everybody in the room that was the goal. So, like I said, things happen, no commitments, but that's our goal. That's the hope.
So that will come back at I think the next city council meeting for a vote. I'm expecting it's going to be approved. A discussion can happen, and some things might need to be tweaked, and maybe it'll come back again after that. But eventually, a change is going to happen there. Things are going to get approved, and development will eventually start happening on the hills. It's not going to come all at once either.
Right.
It'll take years and years for all of it to fill out. Same thing with Olympia. Same thing with any city, any major subdivision neighborhood area. But it's coming. And to be clear too, a lot of people try to understand, but the city government doesn't build housing. We don't build businesses. Sometimes we build roads, not all the time.
Right.
We maintain roads.
Yep.
We maintain parks after they're built.
Right.
Water lines. But we don't build those things.
Right.
Those are private companies, private landowners, and they have the ability to build things on their property. They have to get a certain level of approval through the city to do that.
Right.
And the city has certain things that we can and cannot mandate or require with these developments. But they can build that, and as of now, much of what they're planning, they're already legally able to build if they wanted to.
Yep.
This is just a way to make it a lot better, clean it up, make all three massive developments work together. And I think, my own personal opinion, it's going to be a lot better product than it would have if we hadn't gone through this process this year.
The connectivity between all of them, rather than subdivisions that are spread out and blocked off from everything else, nothing connecting them. This is just better planning in general. It'll be better for everybody in that area, future residents, current residents. It's just going to be better.
Yeah. So we wanted to take a bit of a step back and explain things a little bit more thoroughly today with the water rates or with the South Mountain. We know a lot of people are very curious about those things, especially the water rates, because that affects everybody who drinks water.
Everybody.
Which, if you have a heartbeat, then
Yep,
you drink
you're
water.
drinking it. Yep.
So anyway, thank you, Mary Palmer, for coming in.
Happy Halloween.
You too. Enjoy the trick-or-treaters tonight.
We'll do it.
We got, I think, a couple dozen last year at our house. We live over in the Jackson neighborhood over by Herriman High School. A lot of young families over there. I've said this before, I don't like Halloween, but I do love trick-or-treaters. It's
Absolutely.
adorable. It's so fun.
Even teenagers. I've seen a lot of posts about teenagers. If they're not out getting in trouble,
Nope.
bring them, send them by.
Just getting their candy.
Yep, love it. So please get out. Love it. Can't wait.
If you are listening to this on Halloween, please slow down.
Yes.
Look out for trick-or-treaters. They're generally going to be shorter than adults, so you got to look a little bit closer to the ground. Just be careful. We don't want anything bad to happen today.
Yep. Be safe out there.
So, okay, thank you for listening and watching. Thank you for coming in. As always, send in any questions you have to Mayor Palmer or to Communications Department or anybody. We'll get it answered. Happy Halloween, and we'll catch you next time.